In a world without rule of law, where society hangs by a thread and chaos reigns supreme, there emerges a beacon of survival and strength. Introducing Without Rule of Law, a deck of 300 emergency preparedness survival scenarios to help people navigate this lawless realm. They cover survival topics from self-defense to resource management strategies and more. Get on the same frame of mind as those around you.
Tough times never last, but tough people do.
Hey everybody, welcome to the very first Without Rule of Law live. Got a great night tonight. So for anybody that hasn't done this before, we used to do conflicted lives. Conflicted is a card game. It had a bunch of scenarios in it, and we used to do it live. I'd invite people up on the panel. Well, they have retired Conflicted, and they came out with a new version of the game called Without Rule of Law. And those are the cards we're going to do tonight. And I've got some really great guests for us tonight. So let me introduce them. First person I want to introduce, he is he's actually one part of the team that helps put together the Midwest Preparedness Project camp out. It is Patrick Henry. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm fantastic, man. Thanks for having us on the show tonight. I'm excited.
The next guest, I'm going to call him part of the gruesome twosome that leads that team, and that Spags Unfiltered. He is the Ayatollah of rock and roll, the baddest of the Badlands. There he is. How you doing, Spags?
What is up, my peoples?
Now, Spags is a veteran. Spags is a veteran of this. He's been on a couple of these, and so he knows the score here. And Patrick's played Conflicted a lot, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. The third guest is one Riverside Will. He is one of the co-owners of the Riverside Survival Store in Riverside, Missouri. If you're in the Kansas City area, you guys need to go check them out because they are a great store. How you doing, Will?
Doing great. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me on.
Welcome aboard, man. I'm glad you could make it.
Glad to make it too.
Anything you guys want to say before we start off? I know Spags and Data, you guys got something going on in coming this spring, don't you? What's that going on?
Yeah, so as you alluded to, Spags and I are the gruesome twosome leading up the Midwest Preparedness Project Festival. That's coming up May 7th through May the 12th. We're having that this year at Clinton Lake. Don't forget, we moved. This is going to be the best camp out festival ever. Be there or be square.
Awesome. Now, Will, you want to tell people a little bit about your store and what you got going on there?
Yeah, so right now we got a few events. I got my calendar pulled up on this over here. So we have on January 13th, we've got a game night where I don't know exactly what game we're going to be playing yet. It actually may be WROL, but it might be another. We've been play testing this game a little bit, and then we have a couple others kind of on deck for what we want to play. And then on January 20th, we have a movie night. So we just try to do community events where we get people out and hang out and watch either a movie that everyone's going to kind of be able to maybe jive with in some way, or play a game and just kind of get people to know each other in the area.
Oh, awesome. Okay, now let's talk about what we're going to do tonight, because WROL has 300 cards in it, and there's 10 different categories, and I did not want to have to pick through 300 cards, so I pulled a little bit from each one of the categories, and I've got them in a deck. I've got them all shuffled up, and I'm going to just draw them randomly. So we may not hit some of the categories tonight. We may get multiple in certain categories. So just it's going to be completely random. And before we start, JD from WROL has been gracious enough to offer up not one, but 2 decks of cards to give away tonight. So here's what we've done. My lovely wife is in the chat, and she's going to be paying attention, and she's going to be reading the chat. We have selected 2 secret words. The first person that mentions one of those words wins a deck. Now, if you guys are slacking in the chat and you don't say the words, what we're going to have to do is you're going to have to go into the comment section after the video publishes, and you're going to have to make something in the comment, and then we'll just draw randomly from those names. I'd really
Get active, folks. Get active.
Get active. Talk about it.
Like button.
And so here's what we'll do for the panel. This is directly for the panel. I'm gonna pick one of you guys on the panel. I'm gonna read a card to you. You're gonna give me your answer, and then I'm gonna let the other two roast you and tell you how screwed up you are and how you're gonna die during the apocalypse. Okay? Now, here's one more thing. Yes, Greta, I know. Here's one more thing. I used to have a rule on the conflicted lives. You could not use the answer "shoot him in the face," because invariably that's the answer to that's the ultimate answer to everything. With these cards and WROL, I don't care. You guys, if you guys decide that shoot him in the face is the proper way to handle the situation, then you be my guest. Now, YouTube, understand this, YouTube analytics. This is a game. This is all for educational purposes, and nothing is to be taken literally here. And so we're not advocating violence. We are not advocating insurgency. He's breaking out the hat.
This is all to all our alphabet handlers. This is all hypothetical.
It's all hypothetical. Absolutely.
For entertainment purposes only.
All right.
Yes, that's right, Will. Thank you.
So,
I am not a doctor or a biologist.
You cannot tell me what a woman is.
Nope.
All right. First card. And Will, since you are the newest person on the panel, we are going to start with you.
Hey, G,
Excellent.
can I interrupt you real quick?
Sure.
I do want to make mention that Will and Riverside Survival have actually sponsored Midwest Preparedness for the past year and a half, and they've committed to all of 2024. So everybody needs to go to their shop and their website, check out their stuff, and tell them thank you for being a part of the Kansas, Missouri greater prepper community.
Thank you. Yeah. We're happy to do it too.
Spags, seriously?
Oh, okay. Bam! I had it ready because I knew you jarheads were going to be in the chat tonight. Bam!
Okay, first card. Scenario 21. On November 12th, 2029, in the city of St. Louis, Missouri, a pandemic has led to the development of a new vaccine. However, there's controversy surrounding its safety and efficacy. As a community leader, you must decide whether to endorse the vaccine and encourage your community members to get vaccinated. Do you promote the vaccine, potentially exposing community members to unforeseen side effects, or do you advise against it, potentially prolonging the pandemic and its consequences to the community? God, could I have picked?
We're getting canceled right
So
off the bat.
as everyone in the chat is clearly aware, this is purely hypothetical. This has never happened before. There's never been any sort of vaccines that were questionable ever in the history of medical science. So this is purely hypothetical. But in this purely hypothetical situation, I'd say for me, if I was a community leader and I was advising people in my community, the two biggest things for me would be just the mortality rate of the virus and then kind of the projection of that rate. So depending on the virus, and there are lots out there, and we won't name a single one, some viruses are very, very deadly. And when they are very deadly, they don't spread very efficiently. So if they are incredibly deadly and the outbreak is nowhere near my community, I wouldn't necessarily advise that they take that vaccine because there's a high likelihood that it would be irrelevant to them. Unless that is really close to us and like in proximity, I don't really see the need. And if it's a low lethality, like it's not very deadly, there isn't too much reason to be taking a scientifically questionable injectionable into our body, regardless of it being a vaccine or not. So I think that kind of my answer would be, unless specifically it's incredibly deadly and also very close, like geographically, I don't really see a need for people within my community to necessarily take it.
Patrick, what's your response to that?
Come on, man! Come on, man! You ain't white if you don't vote for. If you don't take the jab. Come on, man! Come on, get out of here with that, man! Come on!
Oh my God!
Spags.
Oh my God! We're all gonna get killed. Hold on, I'm making sure no one's coming up my driveway. No, I actually kind of agree with that answer. That unfortunately, in a lot of people's minds, the whole vaccine thing has become kind of a pariah one way or the other, and the answer generally lies somewhere in the middle. I like Will's point of view that if it's not local and geographically close to him, at least not in the right now moment, that he wouldn't press for it. I, of course, being who I am a big proponent of personal choice. And I think that in the most dangerous times that we face, if we give up on freedom, then we never really believed in it to begin with.
Amen. Just so everybody in the chat knows, we've already got one giveaway taken care of. The secret word was freedom. And anything goes wins a deck of WROL cards. It's so hard to say that.
It is. WROL. Let's call it WROL like everybody else.
WROL. Isn't that what Southern Prep 1 calls it? He calls it ROL.
WROL is what James Wesley Rawls from that line of book.
Okay, WROL it is.
Yeah, WROL.
Okay, Patrick, you're next on the chopping block. On January 17th, 2029 in Charlotte, North Carolina, you witness a carjacking involving a mother and her child. The carjacker forces the mother out of the vehicle and the child remains trapped inside. If you intervene, you could save the child, but your own safety would be at risk. Alternatively, you could call the police and stay out of harm's way, but the child's safety would remain uncertain. Do you step in and confront the carjacker, or do you prioritize your safety and hope the police will rescue the child?
I've been accused of having white knight syndrome. So I 100%, without question, I would intervene, putting myself at risk, at harm. I think all of you guys in this call know that, and the people in the chat know that. Because if you don't do the same thing, I'm going to say that you're probably your acronym starts with a P.
Yes. For those who don't know, he just called you a pussy.
By the way,
and just so you guys know, everyone in this call, the second word is pineapple.
Sam Russell.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to do the third one?
I'm sorry to interrupt, guys. We've got a news break. Sam Russell just won the second deck of WROL cards.
Sam Russell! Yes!
We have
another Jarhead!
Jarhead unite!
Want me to come up with
Use the word that I said that you said was going to be too easy, because the ones you chose
were
way
I know, everybody going fast. Can you remind me? Because now I got it. I remember. Okay.
Luckily, we have this deck was donated to me by JD months ago whenever I got associated with the card game. This one is for giveaway too. So we're going to give away 3 decks tonight. And we've got another word, and we'll see if anybody gets it. All right. Spags, what do you think about Data being a white knight?
I think that when the police when trouble is seconds away, the police are minutes away. And I won't be disparaging of anyone's line of work. That's not the intent. But the fact of the matter is that the police in a free society are designed to be reactive. And if you don't want them to be proactive, it means you have to police your own communities. And I would absolutely step in. I carry a Glock on my right hip every single day. I carry a spare magazine on my left hip every single day. And I carry 3 extra Glock magazines in my EDC every day. And that gives you a lot of reasons why I am the wrong tree to climb, and that umbrella goes to innocent people around me as well.
William, what say you?
I agree with maybe one kind of observation. The only thing that would necessarily change my approach would be who's behind me. So do I have someone who is going to be at risk if I do that? Like, if I pursue this action, is it going to put someone else who, like, for example, if I have a child in my own car, are they then going to be at risk if I go pursue this action? It wouldn't necessarily stop me from pursuing that action. It would just be a matter of, you have to take that into account in how you react.
Good answer.
That's actually a very good point.
Yeah. See, so you can't go rushing head on. You got to start thinking, Patrick.
I was thinking that everybody that didn't charge in there head first, guns blazing, was a platypus.
Good. Excellent.
All right. Okay. I should have mentioned it whenever I'm pulling these cards. I'm going to start telling you what part of the deck these cards are from.
Good point.
The first one was obviously from the pandemic portion. The second one was from the terrorism, violence, and thought crimes category. This one is from the natural and man-made disaster category. All right, Spags, this is yours. On May 2031 in Springfield, Missouri, a powerful tornado destroyed a significant portion of the town. Your friend's close family is missing, and your friend is injured and unable to search for them. Helping your friend would put you at risk or injury or worse, and leave your own family unprotected by you, as the area remains unstable with armed looters roaming everywhere. Do you venture into the devastated area to find their family or focus on ensuring your own safety?
Ooh, wow. Okay. Well, I will address one part of that question first. The part that says, if I venture out there, I leave my family vulnerable. Well, you don't know my family then, because, well, I don't own the only AR-15 in the family. So that part's negated. If I walk out of here, I have every reason to understand that my wife can absolutely whoop as much ass as I could if it came down to it.
And I will affirm that. I will affirm that statement.
Yep. So that part aside, I think that this is one of those situations where minutes count, but I agree with kind of what Will said earlier. You have to think about this one, because if you're in the middle of the storm cell, you can't just wander out and potentially put actual resources that will be used for that search in harm's way. You have to wait. There are times to pull back. And there's one thing that my Glock won't fight, and that's Mother Nature. Mother Nature will whoop my ass all day. And so, yes, I would like to think I will absolutely go help look, but I think you have to wait for the appropriate moment to do so.
Will, what about you?
I agree with that answer. I think the kind of element that Spags is introducing there, of just kind of thinking of it in a non-instant reaction, but more of a linear, like, we need to think about this over a period of time when it's appropriate to react. Obviously, if my friend that is like, I'm going to pursue trying to help my friend if it is something I can actually afford to do. The question of if I can afford to do it now or if I need to wait until later, I think is a really good point, of just like that time perspective of trying to not necessarily just instant, because it is like our very natural, like, visceral reaction of just like, I'm gonna go now, I'm gonna go do this, I'll get it done, I'll get it done fast enough, I'll be back, that it won't matter that I'm doing it now. And we need to, at times, especially when there's multiple issues up front, so we have like not just a storm but also individuals who are potentially going to cause us harm, we need to kind of step back and think, if I let this die down just a bit, am I going to be in a better situation to go do this now?
Okay. What about you, Patrick?
These are all great answers. And again, in the grand spirit of things, you're talking in 2031, right? So by then, like, we're all of our DNA is mutated. So we've got like 6 limbs. We've had 47 booster shots. Like, we can survive on Mars at this point. And so tornado be damned. My friends that are in this call, they know that I will absolutely bleed for them. But better still, I will make others bleed for them. But like Spags alluded to, I can't make a tornado bleed, at least not with my current body. I need at least 42 more boosters first. But, but that being said, I will wait. I will wait out the storm, and then we'll send a part. What?
Spags is about ready to pee his pants because he wants to say something.
I do want to say something. We have someone in chat. Jeffrey Bailey was sent over by Southern Prepper One. And for those of you who don't know, Southern Prepper One is the other guy that helped to create the WROL deck of cards. He's known as Southern Prepper One on YouTube. Great channel, by the way. Go check out Southern Prepper One. Him and I have actually texted and emailed a couple of times back and forth. He's a great dude. So make sure you give him some love as well. And thanks for coming over.
That. Hey, and everybody in chat, normally I'm throwing comments up on the screen for everybody to see. I'm the first time out of the gate on this WROL live. I'm not going to do that. So don't think I'm ignoring anybody, and don't think I'm snubbing people by not saying hi. It's just I'm trying to focus on this and making sure that we get the full experience of what the cards are like first time out.
Go back and watch this chat, because now there's 4 more people saying they're here from Southern Prepper One. So he obviously told people about your live tonight.
Awesome.
I don't know how he would have known, but
local prepper said you're welcome.
Local
Sure,
prepper, I save all my cuddling for you. Bam! Local prepper, check him out on YouTube.
Yes, local. Okay, I have to put that one up. I have to put that one up.
Hey,
Yes, they
I've
do.
done Free said you're
I have
ignoring
seen
the
them at
chat
the
group.
camp
Come
out.
on, G.
Holy shit! Look at all the people being sent over by Local Prepper 1. That's a win,
Yeah.
G. That's a huge
Dave's
win.
a good guy.
Shucks rocks.
Good job, Local
I've-
I
Prepper.
see you.
Good job,
I've
Southern
commented.
Prepper.
He's a
Good
good
job,
guy.
Jamie.
Okay,
NF, I see
the
you.
next one. This one is for Will. This is out of the economic collapse series. This is a long preamble. The question's really short, so we got to pay attention. In 2015, Brazil faced its worst recession in decades due to failing commodity prices and political turmoil. You're a civil engineer in Sao Paulo, and your company has been awarded a government contract to build a public housing project. However, you discover that the construction materials being used are substandard, putting future residents at risk. Reporting the issue could lead to thousands of job losses in the middle of an economic crisis, but ignoring it endangers lives. Your job will also be in jeopardy, as well as financial well-being of your family. How would you handle this situation? And remember, you're in Brazil. Okay, go.
Oh,
Gosh, that's a hard one. There's no shoot him in the face answer on this one. Ah, man.
well, I mean, you can pull that at your ace out.
Hey, this government official, yeah, we'll just shoot him in the face. Yeah.
You're in Brazil. I mean,
it's not a real government official.
It's not even a real government, Brazil, right? I mean, yeah. Okay, so, gosh, there's a few things going on here. At the end of the day, like, livelihood versus lives, right? And then the question of, will loss of livelihood cause loss of life? And then if you're just going to look at it purely from like a what's the lesser of two evils, because that kind of feels like what this question is kind of getting at, what's the lesser of two evils? You have to kind of think about it from, if I remove the livelihood from, say, 1,000 individuals, right? Because I think that's what the question said, was like 1,000 or thousands. How many people are going to potentially starve to death? Potentially, like, their families are going to suffer. They're going to suffer. And in Brazil at that time, I don't know the exact like history of that exact moment. And I think if we are kind of extracting the situation even just from the history at that moment, we can kind of look at the general objective of this question is, how do I measure that livelihood versus life question? I think for me personally, that kind of moderate approach of saying, like, is there a way that we can potentially build less housing with better materials? Is there a way that we can pursue that end? But I think that moderate approach is also kind of excluded with how the question is asked. So for me personally, I think my answer is going to be saying, hey, this is critically unsafe, bringing that to the attention of my superiors. What they do with that information, I would think that they would try to bring in some level of quality into it. So potentially they have an engineer who said, no, this specific parts, these things can be of a lower quality, and these other parts, who knows more than me? Although I think from kind of how this question is phrased, I would potentially very well know that those are not necessarily good. So overall, my answer is, say no. I'm really not comfortable with this, and this is a problem. We need to improve the quality of what we're building here, and we need to look at it from the perspective of, if we build a really, really cheap housing that lasts 10 years and kills hundreds of people, it'll cost us significantly less. But we could also instead build housing that will cost significantly more but last potentially, instead of a decade, decades, or even longer. Well-built buildings are going to be more economical in the long run anyways. So I think there's a little bit of a negotiation to be had there with your superior, and like, we need to approach this from a more holistic long view approach, instead of just saying, like, right now in the immediate, we have a housing crisis, we need to solve it. So
excellent. Okay, we're going to switch this up a little bit. Instead of Patrick being next, we're going to go back. We're going to have Spags answer or respond first.
As you all know, every decision in life is an economic decision.
platypus.
Every one of them. It doesn't matter what it is. And economics does not just deal with money. It deals with time, labor, emotional capital, and all sorts of other elements like that. And I honestly think that the biggest problem with not just our economy, but most Western economies today is the fact that everybody wants to do a startup. Nobody wants to build a legacy. This country was built on legacies. It was built by Ford and Carnegie and all these people. And we might not like them now. We might have the benefit of hindsight to see that some of these guys were crooked. But the fact is, greatness comes from legacy. And all of these startups and all of these quick fixes and all of these, I'm going to make as much money as I can while I fleece my shareholders and fleece the people I'm supposed to be serving, is exactly what led to the downfall of the American economy. And so I absolutely would hope that in that situation that I would be a man of character and I would be willing to stand forward and say, no, this is not right. And make the right decision, because even from just a viable economic standpoint of a startup, you're going to have a lawsuit on your hands the minute the first person dies anyway. So why would you be so short-sighted as to create a shit product that's going to go out there and put a roof over everybody's head in 5 minutes, and within 10 minutes you have 15 electrical failures or a fire that kills somebody's newborn? I mean, even if you don't have a moral stitch in your body because you're a startup guy, you might absolutely have a survivability standpoint economically of not wanting to be sued into the ground.
Good answer. What about you, Patrick?
So this is the one that kind of hits home for me, because part of my background in a past life, I come from the life safety and construction and engineering world. I've been in scenarios where I've been faced with similar situations where people have used substandard equipment or substandard material to build something. And again, from a life safety perspective, it absolutely jeopardized people's lives. I was an inspector. I went around working for the fire marshal, putting "you will not open this building" signs on their doors, and then chaining and Katie barring the doors so they couldn't get back into their business if they didn't correct this or if they didn't use ABC product that was up to code. But again, going back to the question, and then like Will alluded to, you're in Brazil, bro, where your answer isn't shoot them in the face; it's they'll shoot you in the face. And then you'll get fed to, some cartel pigs. So taking all of that into consideration, I think I'd have to side with these other guys on the call, because again, I have been accused of having, white knight syndrome, and doing the right thing is doing the right thing. There's no graying that. There's no blurring that line. There's right and then there's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Okay. Little background on
shoot him in the face.
Shoot him in the face.
Some of these comments are pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
On how we used to use the conflicted cards at Midwest Preparedness Festival. Friday and Saturday they have a common campfire after everybody shuts down, and we would break out the cards and we would run through the cards and just have a great big huge discussion. And Patrick, we've been doing that since the conflicted came out 10 years ago?
Yeah, for real, long time, man.
Because I know I've been going to it for 12, and you guys did it the first time I was there. So, but we used to do it. So these cards are really good, folks. If you're looking for a way to A, open up a conversation, or B, try to vet new people and try to get inside their brain pan a little bit, cards like this and WROL and conflicted and WROL are a great way to do that. And it's done in a non-threatening way. And I got to be honest with you guys, and correct me if you think I'm wrong. The answers, the cards seem to elicit a more thoughtful answer than what a lot of the conflicted cards did. That's just the vibe I'm getting. It may just be me, but that's kind of what I'm seeing. So, I know Will sells them at Riverside Survival. We sell them. We are an affiliate. If you look down in the description below, we've got a code that if you use the code, I can't remember what the percentage. I don't remember what the percentage is. I'm sorry.
Amen, local prepper.
But so there it is. There it is. So if you guys are interested in getting cards, you've got a way to get them, or you can order them directly off the WROL website and do it that way if you want. But they're a great way to help build community and understand the people around you. Okay, next card is from the bank run card, and since we switched directions on the answers, we're going to switch directions on the questions. So Spags, this one is for you.
Ooh.
On February 27th, 2030, in Denver, Colorado, a bank run up during the Great Depression has led to the closure of several public libraries. A wealthy community member offers to fund the reopening of one library, but only if it is stocked exclusively with books promoting their controversial political beliefs. As a leader of your community, do you accept the offer, providing the community with access to at least some reading materials, or do you decline, knowing that many people will be left without a library?
I mean, if it's a Great Depression and there's shit books, we all need fire, right? I mean,
I seen
this is
2012.
this is a pretty easy one, man. I'm a free market guy. If some dude of his own free will wants to promote his own brand of bullshit, far be it for me to say he can't do it. And if the library's shut down, it's already public property, sort of. So, I mean, if he goes in there and puts his books on the shelf, who am I to say no? Being a community leader doesn't mean you get to be censorship one way or the other. And if I don't agree with his political point of view, it doesn't mean I get to say, not in my town, mister. And that's not music. You know, I don't get to do that. So, I mean, it's not my house he's trying to do it in. It's not my neighbor's house he's trying to do it in. So I don't see that I would have the time during a depression to get into a pissing match with some rich philanthropist who wants to put books on a shelf. I mean, if it's Dianetics and you all want to go to Scientology, go hang out with Tom Cruise for the apocalypse. It's not my problem. You know?
What about you, Patrick?
Oh, you know what? That question sounds like it's a bad remake of Footloose, you know, where you know, you've got this like tyranny going on in this little town, and like Spags alluded to, not in my library. You know, you little whippersnapper, get off his lawn, get out of his library. Yeah,
Hitting the ceiling with your broom. Stop dancing! It's for the devil.
Look at the way his hips are gyrating. Oh my god! No, I mean, I think I would echo what Spags said. You know, there's no way you're not gonna. It's a economic collapse, right? I mean, what are you doing? Do you not have anything better to do with your time? Like, apparently Karens exist in the future.
They do spontaneously breed. What about you, Will? What do you say about the subject?
I don't see the harm in it. It's books that are, regardless of which way like politically they fall, it's there. You as a community can choose to not engage in reading it. If I'm going to have any battleground with that library, it's going to be with the people who've read it and them coming out and me trying to engage them in like, this is why you are incorrect. But I don't really think it should really be our place to say, hey, no, you can't have your version of whatever. You just can't. Nope.
All right. Good answers all around. Will, people in the chat are asking, does Riverside Survival have a website? And if it does, what is the website?
RiversideSurvival.com, I believe that changed not too long ago. Let me double check. Yeah, RiversideSurvival.com, all one word, no spaces, just like
there you go. I just posted it in the chat.
Alrighty. Yeah, you're gonna have to forgive me. It's a little bit of a work in process. Currently, we have a good portion of our inventory on it, and we haven't enabled sales because we want to make sure that what we have on our website is truly representative of our stock. So that's a little bit of work in process. But if you saw that site like a year ago, you'll probably know it's been pretty largely improved since then. So,
yep, 100%.
All right, on to the next question. This is from the New American Civil War, and this one is for Patrick. While leading a small group of survivors through a war-torn city of Los Angeles, California, on February 22, 2031, you stumble upon a massive cache of weapons belonging to the enemy. Destroying the large cache would significantly weaken their forces, but would also result in a loud explosion, attracting unwanted attention and putting your group at risk. How would you navigate this complex situation, and what factors would you consider when making your decision?
Ooh, that's a tough one for me, man, because I've seen that episode of Walking Dead, and it got Glenn's head bashed in with a barbed wire wrapped baseball bat.
Yeah,
that's a tough one, man, because again, you know, you're removing some stroke from your enemy, but at the same time putting your flank or putting your group at risk. I mean, you kind of have to weigh that subject pretty heavily and pretty stealthily, because first of all, what are you doing? What are you doing in California in the first place? I mean, why am I in California? I mean, what the
There
fuck
was
is
a
went
bad
so
life
wrong with?
choice here.
I mean, I'm already fucked up here because I'm in California. So something's really went wrong, or maybe we chased that dude from the tornado like really far, and now we're just I don't know. I think we'd have to steal the stash. You know, I don't know if I'd blow it up. I don't know
Yes.
why we would have to blow it up unless that's like not an option. I mean, I would just stealthily slay the guards, take the gear, and now we're distributing it to my buddies, and then we're gonna go do like some roguish shit because I know Sam Russell's with me, and he's an excellent shot.
Yep.
I'll just have you know the jarheads in the chat were the first ones to mention stealing stuff.
Boom! Boom!
I didn't even read the chat, by the way.
Ah!
All of you metalheads, I didn't even read that. I'm right there with you though.
Yep.
What about you, Will?
The way it's written, there's like one key, or like, is my group capable of using these weapons? Question one. And if they're not, is it like they're gonna hurt themselves on it or something? Because the way it's written, it sounds like they're trying to like exclude the option of like, well, I'll just take it and run. Even if we did, like, even if there was resistance on this point, and we had to remove that resistance, it'll be significantly less loud than disabling whatever armament may be there. So it seems like the best option is just take and run, smash and grab, man. I see literally no reason to not just take it and go.
I'm assuming, Spags, that your answer is not too terribly far off the mark on that one.
I'm glad you're the motherfuckers around me for the apocalypse because we're all stealing shit together. We're gonna pull up in a panel van and say, I'm gonna slide it open. I'm Grumpy, Patrick, Will, let's go do some stealing shit. And you're all going, yeah, okay, get in the van, we're gonna go.
Twist
I mean,
my
you've already walked up on the location and no one shot at you, and you're like, oh, look at all these AT-4s. It's gonna be me or the Mexican cartels. I think it's a pretty damn easy answer.
Hey, just so it's said, Hippocrates' garden hit the nail on the head. He said, this is all hypothetical and fictional anyway, because we all know guns are banned in California, right?
Yeah, especially after the first, man.
Play, Mr. Leahy.
Oh, wait, they're illegal for everyone except illegals that are now police in California. Correct. I don't know how that works.
Ouch. Okay. The next question goes to Will. Okay. This card is from the Emergency Preparedness Basics. And okay, folks, these cards, the Emergency Preparedness Basic cards are formatted a little bit different than the rest of the cards, because the rest of the cards are scenario based, and these are how would you I know you've been through the deck. Well, how would you describe these cards? They're nuts and bolts preparedness.
Yeah, stuff? It's just your bare bones basics, like, hey, are you prepared personally in the following ways? Whereas the other hypothetical questions can kind of drive you and potentially people that you ask the questions of to kind of see how they think and how they would react to a situation. And actually, I do have them, but they're actually colored differently too, so they stick out quite a lot. Just because there's my camera. There we go. Yeah. They're white versus the black cards, which is so when we've been kind of playing with them, we'll separate them out just because it's kind of a nice break between other questions. But yeah, it's your bare bones basics. Like, hey, have you thought about this? Are you personally doing this? So it really takes that personal application from some of the questions.
Y'all better be honest on this, because I got a way to find out if you guys are fibbing, and if you're fibbing, I'm going to call you out on the interwebs. Okay. Well,
the World Wide Web.
Do you have a well-maintained fire extinguisher in your home, and have you practiced how to use it effectively in case of a fire-related emergency, ensuring that all family members are familiar with its operation?
Practice with it? No, I haven't really practiced with them. I do have like 4 currently in my house. I've got pretty much just one at any point where I feel like fire is going to be major concern, and then I've also got one in one of my vehicles currently. So they do kind of exist in the environment. So I live out kind of in the country. We'll do like bonfires and stuff. We like to have just fire extinguisher on hand in case something gets out of hand. I have not had an instance where I've needed to use one yet, so I haven't really practiced with it. That said, I bought these when I bought my house. So when they start coming to their expiration date, I'll probably be looking at playing around with them anyways. So I think that training element is something that is definitely like a gap for me, but I see a place where I could fill that gap at some point in the near future.
Spags, yes or no? Are you prepared?
With fire extinguishers?
Yes.
Bro, I smelt metal. I do metal at like 2,400 degrees in my driveway. You better bet your ass I've got fire extinguishers. My buddy Hancock, when he started smelting metals, brought me a fire blanket in case someone got splattered, with molten copper. So yes, absolutely.
What about you, Patrick?
I used to give these classes. So part of my my life safety fire protection background, that's actually what I did. I traveled around the Midwest to all the Orscheln stores, to casinos, you name it. And we put on fire demonstrations where we put out a fire pan, we put gasoline in it, and we taught people the difference between ABC extinguishers, halon extinguishers, water extinguishers, and then all of the different applications of where those are used. So for the longest time at the campouts, I gave away fire extinguishers. You probably have one, G. I gave away probably 3 dozen of the 20 pounders, and another 2 dozen of the, little 10 pounders, 15 pounders, and a bunch of the 5s. I think I even gave away a couple of the really shiny, hard to collect water extinguishers that you can manually pump up with like a tire air, pump. So yes, I absolutely have a fire extinguisher in every room of my house. Everybody in my family knows how to use it. We're squared away.
I'm going to come clean. I'm going to come clean. When we moved, we did not have fire extinguishers handy, and it cost us.
Oh, wait, watch this. Check this out.
Rain country. I haven't seen you in a long time.
There he is. He's got one right there.
Good April Fool's prank. Replace all the fire extinguishers with ones full of kerosene.
Why does this fire extinguisher smell like urine?
Why is the fire only getting bigger, but so slowly?
Okay. You guys
Shoot
are
him in the
terrible,
face.
man.
Shoot him in the face.
Okay, the next card is the New American Civil War, and this one is for Spags. Yeah, Spags.
Okay.
On December 21st, 2036, you and the rest of your militia unit surrendered after losing a fierce gun battle in Richmond, Virginia. As a prisoner of war, you have information needed to execute a mass escape plan. However, the failure could result in harsher confinement conditions or death. Do you risk the dangerous escape attempt to free yourself and your fellow prisoners, or do you stay put, hoping for an eventual end to the war?
Always resist. Always try to escape. That is the mantra of a U.S. soldier. I'm sure it's the same for the Marine Corps. Always resist. Always try to escape. The answer is never to sit around and wait. The answer is to never rely on the political powers that be, even if they're fractured and fighting each other over plots of whatever in some new, movie. Always resist. Always try to escape. You do nobody any good sitting in a cell wasting away on a diet of gruel and oatmeal. Always resist. Always try to escape. End of story.
Patrick?
Oh, man. First of all, me and my homie Spags are in a prison camp. I'm giving him this ring, which belonged to my great-grandpa, so he can smuggle it in his prison wallet back to my son.
Prison pocket.
and then I will make my white knight attempt to get us out.
For those of you who don't know what that means, it's when you crochet an actual little purse while you're in prison. I mean, get your heads out of the damn gutters, folks.
What about you, Will?
We don't have a prison wallet.
Spags made a good point.
Comment on Spags' prison pocket?
Prison pocket.
You don't do anybody good sitting in a prison camp, and I think that's the biggest point of like, if we're stuck in a prison camp, we got people who are currently fighting who don't have our assistance, so we're effectively useless sitting around waiting.
Okay, good answer. Next one is another preparedness basics. This one's for Patrick. Have you considered taking part in the local community emergency response team, CERT, or similar volunteer program to enhance your preparedness skills and contribute to the overall resilience of your neighborhood during a crisis?
Yes. The short answer is yes. In fact, we have plans to organize my neighborhood. I know exactly in my strategic map who lives around me, who is an asset, who is a resource, and who's probably going to have to get 42'd or what's the answer I'm looking for? Anybody know what the answer I'm looking for? Oh, shoot him in the face.
Bam!
Yes, we absolutely have looked at and participate with CERT. For the longest time, I was part of the Oklahoma Medical Reserve Corps, which was a weird operation. They drove around and did dead drops for National Guards and other types of installations where they would drop off like pallets of penicillin or drugs for whatever purpose. So yes, we have looked at organizing and working with those organizations in the local community to further our preparedness.
Awesome. What about you, Will?
Yeah, no, I'm shameful on this one. I have not really engaged with those communities as of yet.
Now here's the question. Now that
I know a guy that can help.
Oh,
yeah.
well,
Now that it's been broken.
yeah, actually, I heard that just a second ago.
Yep. And
But sorry,
I caught one. I caught a comment. Sam Russell. I got to put this up because this is awesome. I got CERT certified the week before the Joplin tornado, and they never called them out. Doesn't work if you don't use it. Doesn't work if your county doesn't use it, which is another reason why you guys need to be involved locally in your city and in your county, so that things like that don't happen. Right. On to the next question.
I have something to add to that one, actually, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
For those who don't know, several years back, I worked for the United States House of Representatives. And one of the things I did do during the tornadoes in Greensburg was myself and two other people from our congressional office went there to try to help with the tornado recovery and the cleanup and whatever they could have us do. Your local CERT doesn't matter. The minute FEMA hits the ground, they will tell everyone to stand down. They will tell everyone that they can do nothing, because FEMA's prime objective when they come onto a local disaster scene is to make sure insurance adjusters get there first, take their pictures, and determine what they're not going to pay out. I know that. Ask me how I know. We had 50 to 100 able-bodied men sitting there with chainsaws and brooms and shop vacs and leaf blowers and rakes, gloves, hardcore clothes. We were ready to go and clean this little tiny Kansas town up. And we were told no. And we sat there for 4 hours in a tent while the FEMA fuckers were running around determining on whiteboards where they were going to let people go to sweep a sidewalk. You couldn't sweep a sidewalk without FEMA people showing up with armed guards telling you not to do it. So my answer is no. I would not join the local CERT. I would join local privatized groups that do the same thing, that don't give two shits what FEMA has to say about it.
JD, Southern Prepper 1, if you guys are in here, I don't know if it's in the deck or not. There's a card right there, and make a scenario-based question about that very scenario right there and see how people react.
Yep.
So there's a idea for a new card.
Yep.
Okay.
Lawrence has a CERT, Topeka has a CERT, but most of the CERTs in Kansas are not at the grand scale. They're smaller. Some of the ones were bolstered by Department of Homeland Security in like 2012, but for the most part, FEMA can come in and tell them all to stand down.
I wonder what the sheriff could do about that. Next question. This one is for Patrick, if I'm not mistaken.
It's Will's turn. You've skipped Will like 3 times.
Did I skip you, Will?
Look at that magnificent beard. How could you skip it?
Okay.
Thank you.
Will.
You got a better one though.
Will.
I'm older, so
yeah, you've had more time.
You guys having a bromance live on camera? Did that just happen? You guys you're sitting below me on the camera. I'm sitting up high next to Garen. So if the two,
I think we all have the same kind of display. Yeah.
Will, if you look,
hey man, you're on top. Don't be jealous.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I want to see you guys make out. So if Will looks to the left and you look to the right, and you guys kiss, like this is gonna get weird. Oh yeah.
Oh,
look, shots.
It's Preppers After Dark.
We all just got canceled.
You guys are terrible, man. Okay, Will.
Hey, don't complain. We're bringing you ratings.
I just saw this happen live on camera.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the feed to go dead. Seriously.
Just
I can
everyone
just
leaves.
see it,
Everyone
you know,
dips.
tonight I'm gonna go to bed and I'm gonna have dreams about you two sword fighting on the beach with Keith Richards, but you're not gonna have swords.
I'm
It's
Italian.
kind of weird you're dreaming about that, dude.
We don't sword fight. We use Berettas.
Okay, reel it in, you pervs. Okay, terrorism, violence, and thought crimes. On March 9th, 2027, in San Jose, California, a new technology emerges that can accurately predict and identify individuals who are likely to commit violent crimes. The government begins secretly using this technology to arrest individuals before they can act. In Chicago, Illinois, in Chicago, Illinois. So they're using it in Chicago.
Okay.
You are a journalist who discovers this program's existence. Do you expose the government's actions and risk release of potentially dangerous individuals, or do you remain silent to ensure public safety at the cost of civil liberties?
I mean, we've seen a lot of movies about this, guys. It doesn't end well, right? Like, obviously expose it. I think kind of the other half of this that is more relevant at this point, specifically like with kind of what we see in our own criminal system now, is how many of these individuals are truly being targeted because of their potential to commit violent crime, as opposed to other things which the government may not enjoy. That kind of methodology of like, you haven't done anything yet, but we're just going to siphon you into a prison, especially right now when someone can commit violent crimes and still be on the streets. There's very, I don't really see much in the way of a question there. Like for me personally, I would say, yeah, no, 100% expose it.
Spags, what about you?
I am a loud mouth person, and you all know that. I probably would be inclined to expose it. The only thing that would probably get me not to expose it is if I was in some place like California, accidentally run around a bunch of neck-bearded, frozen fish stick eating pencil neck dorks who exposing it to would make no difference. I think the audience you expose it to is a factor here. Like here in the Midwest, yeah, you could probably get away with exposing stuff all day, except for that little state called Illinois. It probably wouldn't do any good there either. But, for the most part, I think that this is a geologically locked question. If you're in Vermont or Maine or New Hampshire, what the hell's the point? What are you exposing? The fact that these people have already voted for the very thing that they know is happening? I think that makes a difference, because if I'm going to expose something that's going to, in a police state, expose me and my group and family to imprisonment before I'm necessarily ready for that, I think it's going to have to be to a willing audience who it's going to do good for. What's up, Eric?
How's it going,
That's a
Eric?
weird statement coming from a dude that's in California.
What about you, Patrick? Would you expose it?
Yeah, this is a weird question, because we all know that the second most popular president in human history came from Chicago. So, I mean, violent crime should be like on an all-time low in Illinois, right? So, I mean, with all of that said, I just exposed myself earlier today and then exposed these two guys just a few minutes ago. Hell yeah, I'm exposing that.
There you go. And I think, well, I've been trying not to comment on the cards themselves, but I think Will made a pretty good point in his answer is, do we really trust the government to use it just to arrest violent criminals? Or do you think that maybe they would use it to arrest people that dissented? I'm just saying. I mean, I can't think of anything in recent history that would be along those parallels where people would be in jail for just dissenting, but it could happen. I'm just saying it could happen. Okay. Next question.
I have an update from JD.
What's that?
JD has said to give away another deck.
We've got one. and nobody said
Another
the magic
deck.
word.
Find a way to give away another deck. He also says that they will be opening up a channel to take community questions for the next print. Now, if you remember with Conflicted, you could actually get your own card, right? You could apply for it and go through this process. I have a card in, I think, deck 5 or 7 of Conflicted. That's a Spags card. So it looks like they're going to be doing some very similar things, although I can't speak to what that
We'll do
actually
the two
means.
decks, this one and his, and then I'll go ahead and I'll write down another one.
Hang on a second, guys.
Your word is too difficult. They want to start buying letters. So I'm going to go ahead and sell
People want to
letters.
start buying letters.
From John Vanna White.
I even threw on a hint, and apparently that's not happening.
It's in the Bible,
and
it deals with what we're talking about.
well, that would be their second hint.
Okay, so you got a hint. You got a hint for the word.
So I'll pick another word.
Okay.
And then we'll get that going. So
Wait a minute. Are we
decks
talking the 1611 King James Authorized Version or one
I
of
will
the
say
New,
this.
New
Hold on a
American
second,
Standards?
No,
I
Which
will
which
say
Bible are
this.
you reading that talks about exposing yourself?
I will say this. Spags would have won the deck twice.
Literally, it was the hint.
Spags would have won the deck twice tonight.
Yep.
He used the word twice already.
Yes, he did.
Did I
So
really?
you guys go.
Oh, we got it. We got it. Hang on.
Kentucky
hang on.
Kentucky Goat Man just got the word.
Yeah, he did. He sure
Congratulations.
did. Make sure you email us.
Email us. Go to our about link on our channel and email us at therealgrumpyacres@gmail.com. Congratulations.
Thank you,
Give me
JD, by the way,
30
for that.
minutes. I'm going to go write down.
Thank you,
another
Southern
word,
Prepper.
and there's
What's the
one
word?
more
Is
deck.
the word revelation?
Apocalypse. The
Apocalypse?
word
Okay.
is apocalypse.
Oh, I thought it was
Give
weeping
me 30
rash. I'm so sorry.
Hey, take the dog with you. Hang on, guys. I got a dog laying at my feet.
Isn't that in the part with Sodom and Gomorrah? People were getting weeping rashes.
That doesn't sound good.
Okay.
No,
So-
enjoyable.
We are going to give her a couple of minutes to come up with a fourth word, and then we will hopefully give away a fourth deck. Well, we're going to give it away. It just depends on the manner in which it's given away.
It's
Next
not
question
pineapple.
is for Mr. Spags. And it's a religion question. This should be interesting.
Oh.
On February 27, 2026, in the desolate landscape of Portland, Oregon, a charismatic prophet has emerged, preaching that
Wow.
the end of days is imminent and that only those who renounce their possessions and devote their lives to his teachings will be saved. Your parents, captivated by his message, have given away everything they own and are planning to follow the prophet.
So they resurrected Kurt Cobain?
Do you try to intervene and convince them of potential danger, knowing that doing so could alienate them? Or do you let them pursue their chosen path, even if it could lead to their demise? Via Kool-Aid.
Ooh.
Go.
Bro, I'm 44 years old. You know how old that makes my parents? If you're 70 years old and you want to follow the next Benny Hinn into the fucking malaise of Kool-Aid in Panama, be my goddamn guest. I don't care.
In
Honestly,
Portland.
I mean, yeah, in Portland. I mean, first off,
Isn't
wow.
that cool? The Chop and the Chaz now?
It's something. Yeah. Honestly, at that age, I have no business trying to convince my parents who have lived through everything from Vietnam to the end of, World War II and Korea that I know more than they do. If they want to go follow some, prophetic person and they lose, I don't know, a love seat in a microwave over it, again, we're at the end of times in a desolate wasteland. I have far more important things to worry about. I might say something to him. I might be like, that guy, he's got 11 fingers. You might want to think about what he's saying before you listen to him. But honestly, I mean, geez, man, if I'm 70 years old and I'm like, this guy's got the answers, I'm not listening to some 40-year-old who's telling me not to follow him. So why would I expect someone else would?
Okay. What about you, Patrick?
That's a tough one. I mean, anytime you're dealing with people's faith, it's a hard line to toe. People generally, are staunch in their belief and they dig their heels in the sand when you try to convince them otherwise. Like when you try to tell your brother that his wife's cheating on him, he's generally going to hate both of you, but hate you more because you're the one that exposed it. So in the same light with this, kind of context, faith is an even worse conviction than, a jealous lover. And so in this regard, I think you'd have a hard time convincing someone that, first and foremost, that they're wrong, especially when it comes to their faith or their convictions in their faith. And then secondly, trying to convince them that this false Messiah or whatever it is that they're wanting to follow, because I could see them resurrecting Kurt Cobain. He had a pretty decent following, and maybe in Chop and Chaz, he might be the guy. So I don't know. That's a tough question.
Yeah. What about you, Will?
Kind of disagree. I'd like to see my parents in paradise. If this cult's not following, I've been really careful to say stuff that's not going to get you demonetized here, so I'm going to keep that theme up here. But
Do it.
if they're not following the one and only Jesus Christ, I
agree with that.
Cult, I'm not down for that. And like the level of intervention, like what is intervention in this scenario? Is it like, hey, guys, this isn't biblical, right? If that's the level of intervention that's necessary, then like easy win. Let's go. If it's more like I have to drive all the way up to Portland and I just can't afford to because I got to physically remove them from the place, then that comes into like, I physically couldn't do it depending on the scenario, right? So I would try my very hardest to intervene in a way that was like feasible, right? But I also have things here that I need to be concerned with, right? I'm building my own family over here, right? So I've got to worry about those things too. Mm-hmm. So, my parents are old enough that they make their own decisions effectively. And I think there's a point to say, like, we need to respect that. But at the same time, anyone can be misled. So if all they need is some guiding truth, like, point them back to the gospel. And if that works and that's like what they needed and they come back, awesome. And if not, you just need to like open the door for God to pursue them. And if you don't do that, then I feel like you are doing them a disservice.
I like you guys' answer because you're dealing with two things there. I saw it.
You got it?
I got it. You're dealing with two things there. You're dealing with faith and I changed your diapers. It's hard enough to win a battle on just one of those topics. Win it with both of those topics against you is going to be pretty darn hard. All right.
Especially with people who are set in their ways. Your parents are generally set in their ways.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
I've
guys.
only got so much emotional capital to give, Yep.
We have been going on for an hour now. I like to go about an hour and a half on this. So if you guys want to keep on going to an hour and a half mark, we'll go there, and we are going to call it quits at an hour and a half because what I found is after 2 hours, it just gets a little bit too long for people in the chat, and they start losing interest. So we'll cap it out in an hour and a half, and we will call it a night. So we got about 30 more minutes. Let's see how many more we can get through. Okay, this next card is going to be for Patrick, and this is the first card out of the government section of the deck.
Ooh.
All right. On July 8th, 2032, in the devastated remnants of Austin, Texas, the government has banned all unauthorized gatherings in an effort to suppress potential dissent. Your community has relied on secret meetings to organize mutual aid and support of vulnerable members. Do you continue attending these meetings, risking arrest and punishment? Or do you cease participating knowing that the well-being of your community members may be or will be jeopardized?
So first and foremost, I'd like to thank my alphabet handlers for being here tonight. And secondly, my answer is purely hypothetical. I do like the speakeasies. And, in that regard, I think we would have to. It's our duty to continue this type of cycle of resistance in the face of futility, where you have this regime, this tyrannical regime that's telling you ABC, like Spags alluded to earlier. I think in our call, no, actually it was yesterday in our discussion with Porterhouse and Teal, that at one point in time, the government banned booze. Booze was of the devil. And in the same regard, this is another one of those instances where, like Will alluded to, in that prison camp, we're no good if we're locked in our house, not conspiring, as the word were, with one another to try to figure out a better solution, because I know I'm not smarter than the rest of you guys in this call collectively. And so together, we're going to find a solution that's amicable and one that is going to put our best interest at heart and put us in a position to win, regardless of what these people are trying to do to us. So hell yeah, I'm going to resist, and we're gonna continue our machinations and underground black market trends and whatever else we're doing.
Will, what about you?
Yeah, the only thing that's changed is now I know that I need to be a little bit more secretive, I guess, right? Like, that's all. We're going to keep on keeping on. It just means that we have to be a little bit more careful about how we pursue those meetings together.
Spags?
I can't add anything to that. These guys are right.
Okay.
Always resist, always try to escape.
All righty. The next question is another one out of the economic collapse section.
Ooh.
In 1997, the Asian financial crisis hit South Korea, forcing the government to implement harsh austerity measures. You're a union leader in Seoul, and your members are facing mass layoffs and wage cuts. The government threatens to imprison you if you lead a strike, but your members depend on you to fight for their rights. Do you risk your freedom to stand up for your fellow workers, or do you back down to ensure your own safety? Now, this actually happened. This is actually a historically based card. And some of the other ones that aren't supposed to be historically based are, unfortunately, these days. But anyway, so Will, as a union leader, what would you do?
You can't lose. You can't give ground. Period. To tyrants. You just can't give ground. We said it earlier with the building construction. You got to think longer than just like now, and you got to think longer than just like 10 years from now. If I have to suffer that my kids, or potentially it's even their kids, get to reap that reward, and I only see the suffering aspect of it, I should consider myself blessed. Give no ground to tyrants, period. In this particular instance, you're talking about a very corrupt government. I think there's times when, like, the kind of union, should the union person stand up for it? It's like, yeah, well, what are you standing up for, right? Like, if it's something dumb, it's something dumb. But when you're talking about a corrupt government bearing down on you, you just can't give ground. If we hadn't have given ground this whole time, oh boy, I'm crossing a line. I got to be careful. Got to back up real quick.
Do it, Will. Your stock is rising.
Ground this whole time, the fight would be different now, right? Like, we wouldn't be talking about stuff that we talk about now. We would be talking about, oh, well, gosh, my artillery over here. Oh, man, it's just costs so much, right?
How do you get the rust out of the barrel of an 88 millimeter?
Precisely, right? Give no ground. Give no ground to tyranny. Give no ground to tyrants.
Okay, Spags, what about you?
First
off, imagine Spags in a union.
There is no way you'd catch me dead in a union. I am a capitalist, unapologetically so, and unions are just Bolshevik cells of communist cesspools in the United States. You would never catch me in one. But let's suspend belief and pretend that I am a typical American who enjoys my kid cuisine meal 3 times a week and, votes.
No, you're typical. In this scenario, you're a typical Korean enjoying your kimchi.
Okay, I'm enjoying my kimchi. Wait, do they have unions in Korea?
Yes.
Do they
Huge
really?
Unions. Yes, they do.
I know. Okay. Well, I'm going to assume then that any labor union even there is influenced by Bolshevik thought. And if it's influenced by Bolshevik thought, the only reason you would ever have any moral platitude to join one is to destroy it from inside, right? You're acting as a double agent at that point. And so you'd have to absolutely act on that only if you find yourself in that position. You are absolutely acting as a double agent to disrupt Bolshevikism in all of its facets, no matter how it presents itself. So whatever's the most destructive to the machine, being the tyrant in this situation, you would absolutely have to do it.
What about you, Patrick?
As a former union member, I was a part of the 669 union in my life safety days, and it was a strange, surreal feeling. I had to walk through a second set of gates one time when they were striking before I became the union guy, and they were throwing bottles at us and spitting on us, and it was like weird. We were told, don't go to St. Louis; they'll slash your tires and burn your truck. So going forward, I understand the unions have their strengths and their weaknesses, but in this regard, with this particular union, I don't know. I mean, where do you find that delineating line to where the union's actually doing some good and helping the grand cause and not just helping themselves? Because again, like these guys have alluded to, I mean, most of the modern unions have been corrupted with socialism or socialist like ideas and ideologies, which I can't imagine are any different in Korea or anywhere else around the world at this point. I mean, I think the largest communist nation in the world is just right around the corner from Korea these days. So, I mean, North Korea's, what are they if they're not communist, right? So, what are we talking about? What's really at stake here?
Well, you know what? I was reading that card, and all I could think of was Lech Walesa in Poland, and how he and Pope John Paul II started the movement that caused the Soviet Union to collapse. So if you're in a position of power, don't shake your head.
It was David Hasselhoff singing at the Berlin Wall. That's what brought down the Soviet Union. God, know your history.
You know what? Now you're talking about hidden history. Right? Then he got drunk and ate a burger.
Yes.
But that's all I could think of when I was reading that card.
I thought it was Chuck Norris.
Well, secretly, yes. That was before. That was when he was still in pupa form. He hadn't fully blossomed with his wings yet.
Exactly. Okay, who are we on now? Who's the next person?
Knight Rider.
This one is Spags. This is from the bank run part of the deck, which is different than the economic collapse part of the deck. Okay. And this one kind of hits close to home. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
On December 30th, 2032, in Kansas City, Missouri, a nationwide bank run has brought the entire country to its knees, causing millions of people to lose their jobs, businesses, and homes. You are a financial investment journalist, and you have uncovered that numerous senators and other government leaders benefited from the bank run via insider trading. They all knew this was coming. Your editor will not publish your story, fearing the repercussions that may come, and he has threatened to fire you. Would you also stay silent in order to preserve your livelihood and safety? Or would you find a way to let the public know? What would your next step be? Go.
I'm going to go with option C. I'm going to become Venom. And I'm just going to climb skyscrapers and absolutely put heads on pikes.
Okay.
Exposing it does no good at that point because it's too late. Putting your people at risk does no good because it's too late. At that point, you have one choice, at least in my book, and that's go complete vigilante. You have the information, you have the names, you have the addresses. If this was a fiction book I was writing, this would be a book where Batman puts his tool belt on and just goes and fucks some stuff up.
Okay. What about you, Patrick?
I'm going Batman too.
Okay. So we got two Batmans, Will. What about you?
I have to agree the damage is already done. Your ability to actually preserve anyone's ability to get through that disaster is already over. The vigilante side, potentially. There's also the if there is any recourse left, which there may be, but if there is any recourse left to in an official capacity render judgment, I think that would be preferable, and only because it would give potentially some peace to those who were affected, particularly, as opposed to the vigilante side, where, although that said, on the vigilante side, you can always just be like,
Robin Hood,
this is what I did, and this is why.
Here's your bag.
Hey, G, I'd like to retract my previous statement. And according to G.G. Collins, G.G. Collins in the chat thread is correct. And rather than go Batman, I'd go V for Vendetta.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Well, and I think the underlying thing behind that question is, how willing are you to find out exactly what they would do to keep you quiet? Knowing what they would do and knowing what they're capable of doing are two separate things, you know. So yeah, it's a tough question, but I think you guys are right as far as the moral aspect of it goes. You guys want to do another nuts and bolts question?
Your story,
skipped,
man. Do what I want.
Franks and beans.
I skipped over one. And whose turn is it?
I think it's Will's.
This
Will's.
is Will's turn.
I thought I don't know how to point on this. I'm not gonna lie.
So it's you.
That was Patrick.
It's you,
Will
Patrick.
has this
Come on,
product
Will.
in his store. Give it to him.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you know what? We're switching. We've been at it for an hour and 15 minutes. We're switching back the other direction. So Will gets to go again. Have you identified the location of identified location of emergency exits in buildings you frequently visit, such as schools, workplaces, or shopping centers? Well, you've got two of those three covered just in one room, right?
Maybe. Identifying escapes, I think, is pretty easy and natural thing to do. Finding the kind of more odd ones is useful. Being aware of methods of how to exploit some of those exits more so, if you understand my meaning. In the case of an emergency, the most frequented exit is obviously main ones. Main ones are where you'll likely get trampled. And if you are aware of non-main exits, that's awesome. And then the last kind of component of this, the last little nugget that's very important is, if it's a multi-story building and you're not physically fit enough to go use the stairs, you're in trouble. That's so long story short, yes, I do tend to keep track of exits. Okay.
What about you, Patrick?
My head is always on a swivel. You can ask these guys that know me, and anytime we're going somewhere, there's an occasion where Spags and I were in Michigan, and there's like this weird homeless bathroom in the middle of town, and we're just wandering around collecting Pokemon, and the next thing I know, Spags is taking a leak, and these three homeless dudes try to creep around behind the bathroom. Ask Spags who was standing by the door when he came out of that fucking bathroom.
I thought those three guys were going to be trying to hold my hand, and it was Patrick.
I was holding his hand like this, though. I mean, so anyways, long story short, when we go into somewhere, I absolutely know where the exits are. I map that room out. I subscribe to the General Mattis theory of be polite, be professional, but have a plan to kill everybody you meet.
Yes.
What about you, Spags?
Absolutely look at everything. Passivism is a weakness. There was once upon a time, not too long ago, maybe 3 years ago, when there was a grand meeting here in Kansas of quite a few of people in our way of life that was called upon. And we all showed up to this thing. And many of us showed up 3, 4, 5 hours early to the location that was told for us to meet. And we showed up separately in separate vehicles with roving people driving around the outsides of buildings, while some of us who have more of an experience and more of a background than others went in and looked for every single exit and mapped it in a way that we could then send to the people on the outside of the building. So
I think I was at that.
I know you were.
Oh,
I know you were.
I know exactly what you're
myself. And what people don't know is that there was like 5 of my people there, like 4 hours before anything happened. And we had mapped every exit. We had rovers outside watching for everything from black sedans with no light bars on them to protesters. And we knew everybody coming in and out before people even showed up. And that's
I will say this.
That's what we have to operate at today.
That was probably one of the most safest places to be in all of Topeka.
Oh, it was probably the safest place in the Midwest.
Yeah, that night, probably. Yeah, I would probably agree with that. I wasn't trying to brag or anything.
No, but I know you were there, and I know several other people in the chat that were there. But you can't get invited to something like that without thinking tactically.
Right. And we did. We didn't go to that extent, but we did. Okay, so hang on a second. Before we go on, I got to find a comment. Garrett asked a question. It's actually a twofold question. I want to see if I can
Ooh.
find it and bring it up. No. There it
Rain
is.
Country,
There it
we were
is.
saving those questions for you.
There it is. Garrett asks, is there any correct answers, and how would they counter your moves with the answers you are given? First part of that. Guys,
Good question.
are there any correct answers to these questions?
Shoot him in the face.
These questions are left open answered. It's just like the conflicted decks used to be. The WROL cards give you a little more information, and there's kind of a second part to each question. But they're left open intentionally. And what I like about the WROL cards is they give you time periods and geographic locations, which can make your mind think. So I don't know that I would say there's necessarily only one right answer to these cards. I would say there are probably definitively wrong answers to the cards. But the idea is to get you to think on a spectrum.
Okay. And what about I guess the second part of that question is kind of an OPSEC thing. Are you giving away too much information for people that might be, say, monitoring this live feed or in the circle around the campfire? Are you giving away too much information if you're taking part in this?
The people who are monitoring this situation trained me for over 30 years of my life. They can get bent for all I care.
There you go. Patrick, Will, you guys got anything to add to that? It's kind of hard to beat.
Yeah, that is a super simple answer. It's like we said at the very beginning when we qualified this entire discussion, that this card game series and the one prior to it, its predecessor, are designed for you to flesh out those weaker links or stronger links in your group circles and discussions. It's absolutely meant to get you to thinking, and then furthermore, for you to be able to find those defining answers for people that won't really come out of their shell and say something, that they wouldn't normally say. So you're asking these questions and putting these scenarios out there so that you can get either a psyop answer or you can get a real answer, because now you understand this person a little bit better and you have a better understanding of their psyche.
All right. Good stuff, guys. Hey, listen, this is going to be our last card because we need to do some admin work after this card. And I think it's a really good card to end on. And I randomly picked it. And in my opinion, this one does have a correct answer. And it has one answer. And we'll see if the panel or the chat knows that answer once I finish reading the card. You guys ready for this? And this is from the religion deck. And this one goes to who? Raise your hand if you're next. Spags.
No, I think it's Patrick's turn.
No, he raised his hand. It's too late, dude.
Clockwise.
You done raised your hand, bro.
I was pointing at you. You're above me. Remember, we already had that conversation about.
It's your ball there, Patrick. On May 16th, 2031, in the remnants of New York City, your religious leader and some members of your congregation claim that another group is practicing witchcraft, causing fear and unrest. The leaders of the congregation ask your opinion regarding what should be done. Do you suppress these rumors, risking potential dissent amongst your own group, or act on them, potentially leading to unjust persecution of others? Go.
That's an easy question for me to answer, because I have this debate often with my friends in my inner circle. And my first word to you in this call, to you guys in this call, and the people in the chat, is I would ask you first and foremost, take a look at the people that are pointing the finger and who started the witch hunts in the first place, and look what they ended up doing historically. It was the people who started the witch hunts and drove the witch hunts were the ones that were actually doing the shenanigans that they were accusing other people of. And it was, again, a smoke screen for them to go around doing horrible, vile, debaucherous things to other people. And so in that regard, if my congregation is weak, I'm using that like a psyop to weed out the weak.
Okay. What about you, Will?
Outside of what Patrick's already said, conduct research. I mean, just like anything else, if they're like, oh, this person's a problem, we may not even have to research the person they say is a problem. We may want to research the people who are saying that they're a problem. What's their motives? Why do they want us to go and deal with this person in whatever methodology that they want? There is some instances where you may, as a group, be able to identify a person who is individually a problem, and you may be doing that correctly. But there are many instances where Patrick is 100% right. It's literally a witch hunt, and not a good thing.
What about you, Spags?
Again, freedom doesn't mean jack shit if it goes to the wayside the minute you feel threatened. And this country was founded on the principle of freedom of religion. Now, to be clear, I claim Jesus Christ as my savior, and I make no apologies about that. But in that faith, I should feel secured not to have to tell other people how to live their lives. Right? If you look at the great charge that Christ gave his followers, it was to love your neighbors as yourself and love the Lord your God with all your heart, mind, body, and soul. That's all he said. Now, of course, there's other stuff you can build on from other parts of the Bible and other writings. But the fact of the matter is, when he was asked what was the greatest commandment, that was it. Now, I agree with Will. You have to look into motivation. 99% of the time, when somebody claims that somebody's a witch, it's because of jealousy or envy or one of the actual great sins that we're told about. Now, there's some nuance in our holy books that tell us what to do about witches, right? And that's all pretty much Old Testament stuff. In the New Testament, it doesn't make the cut. It's not talked about. And even in the Old Testament, it doesn't make the list of 7 deadly sins. So if you're over there, I believe it was Gigi said they're rubbing crystals. If you're rubbing crystals, I don't give a shit. It's not my problem. Again, I have more important things to do in the apocalypse than worry about whether or not you're rubbing a rock and praying to a fish idol. The minute that fish idol becomes Moloch and you're trying to take my child and sacrifice it to that God, I will absolutely bring a whirlwind of consequence upon you that you are neither willing nor prepared to deal with. And until force is initiated, force cannot be met. That is the rule of the non-aggression principle, which is the foundation of all free societies. Free society doesn't go away just because we're in the apocalypse.
Now, here's where the one. Oh, go ahead, Will.
One thing that I would like to add that I think I don't know. I don't remember exactly if the question phrased it this way or not. But one thing that would kind of change the precise methodology I would use in kind of treating this is this person a member of our community? Do they claim to be Christian? If they do,
it was another group.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I didn't catch that. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That would kind of change the approach, because at that point we do have like a methodology of dealing with that. But when it's a different group, yeah, no, unless they are directly dealing harm, I agree with Spags.
So you've done your research on them. It's another group. It said it's the remnants of New York. So I'm assuming that it's a blown out city. These guys,
we can only hope.
These guys, this other group went and they found the Gate of Baal that New York City erected several years ago, and they are practicing Baal in all its glory to them. Everything that entails. Mm-hmm. What's the proper answer at that point, gentlemen?
I'm going to change my name. I'm changing my name to Gideon, and we're burning that shit down.
We are burning it to the ground, because at that point they're actually aggressing against people, because Baal worship requires child and human sacrifice.
Okay.
At which point
Bobby already knows how I feel on this one.
Yeah,
you guys really disappoint me with your answers on this. Seriously,
I'm so sorry.
Because the proper answer is to
shoot him in the face.
Oh, of course.
This is not a 3D printed angled foregrip, so I mean,
you shoot them in the face after you tear down their idols, right?
We had to get that in at the end, man. And this is a fun game. There's a lot of heady topics in this deck, aren't there? A lot of stuff that make you think a lot. And I wanted to end on a little bit of goofiness. All right, guys.
Yeah. Well, you want to do goofiness? Local prepper, subscribe. Find local prepper.
The that sticker mule money was well spent, wasn't it, for him?
I will
Okay,
be
guys,
hiding some
listen.
of these at Midwest Preparedness, and you'll have to find them.
I really appreciate you guys coming on board and doing this with me. I think first time out of the gate for WROL, I think it went pretty well. I really enjoyed having you guys on and listening to your answers and everything. We got 4 decks of cards given away, so there are 4 people out there that are going to be able to spread the message of preparedness and being ready for whatever happens to us. Will, before we go, you got anything? You told everybody about your classes. RiversideSurvival.com is his site. You got anything you want to add and anything you want to end the thing on?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, people just keep building local communities. If you are in our area, we're more than happy to have you come out and meet with other people. We provide as best as we can environments to get you together with people who you wouldn't necessarily otherwise meet, that you can have these kinds of conversations more regularly. You can do these sorts of things more regularly. We keep our like Facebook and other medias, like if you're on those things, I realize a lot of people have issues with those things, but as a business, you kind of have to have one. We do keep our events there. And if you ever come in and stop by the store, we are in Riverside, Missouri. We have a bulletin board of literally all of our events, as well as like Midwest Preparedness Project events and any other events that we find that we like. We put it on a literal physical bulletin board. We try to make it as easy to find as possible. It's right up and prominent. Come out, meet people, discuss these things more actively. And I mean, like, yeah, when we're discussing it here in an internet format, there is some of that security risk. We kind of talked about that earlier. Far less so when you're sitting person to person. Granted, you know, there's a discussion to be had about how much there is listening, right? But regardless, it's much more just condensed. You can sit, you can talk, you can you can just be there, and you don't have to have the security risk that is hosting those people in your home or having them be even somewhat aware of where you are. You don't have to reveal these things. You don't have to give up OPSEC to have this kind of a community. So we're trying our best to kind of offer that space. And I think that's the biggest thing that we've really worked on since we changed ownership, was just, we want to make sure that we are a space where people can get together and have these discussions. We also have prepper meetups. I think it's last Saturday every month is what we've been doing. And that's literally just, we sit around a round table and talk about stuff. So if you want to come out and join us, feel free. And I'm so glad I got invited. Thank you guys for having me out.
All right. Glad
Yeah.
to see you, man. Patrick, Spags, you guys want to talk about what's going on together? You want to do your own thing on this?
Go ahead, Spags. You got this.
Well, come out to the Midwest Preparedness Project, MidwestPreparednessProject.com, because, well, you know, that's how the internet is. Everybody should show up. It's free. You'll get to meet Patrick. You'll get to meet Will. You'll get to meet Grumpy. You'll get to meet all of their family members and all the other people that they're associated with. And on Friday night, every single year, at every single event, we play WROL live in person around a campfire, and it gets heated sometimes.
There's a lot of people. It's great.
Last year, we had 287 people attend. For WROL, I think we had close to 120 people around a double campfire. Now, if you can imagine, I'm a libertarian, and the Libertarian Party is like wrangling cats, dude. That's why I don't go to the party meetings anymore. But it's even better at the Midwest Preparedness Project. Patrick actually heads up playing the game, and Grumpy and all of us sit around and we let the average person answer. And every now and then, one of us who are involved, we pipe up and we throw a little tidbit in to kind of, you know, wet the field. So MidwestPreparednessProject.com. We're on Facebook. We're on MeWe. We're on Freesteading. We're on X. We're on YouTube and Rumble. Find us. Through that, you will find Riverside Survival. You will find Grumpy Acres Farm. And half the people that were in this chat tonight are sponsors of what we do. This is a huge organic organization that is growing to a point where the Midwest is literally becoming a hub for people to come to learn about homesteading, preparedness, bushcraft, and all the things.
And one last final point to that. everybody that shows up to the Midwest Preparedness Project, Rain Country is donating a free unicorn.
Awesome.
Green Country, I need some of your swag stickers. Mail me text me separately. I need swag stickers. We got to give them away now.
Okay, Gigi Collins asked, anyone near Western North Carolina? I feel so isolated here.
Yes.
Gigi, everybody who's new to this chat, I want you guys to go to freesteading.com. It is a free speech alternative to Facebook and YouTube and all these other places where like-minded homesteaders and preppers get together. There are a multitude of different forums. We have a forum. Spags has got one. Patrick's got one. Local Preppers got one on there.
Rain Country's got one.
Rain Country. A lot of people that are in chat are involved with freesteading.com. The two things you need to do. Number one, it's free to join. It's free to get on there. Number two, once you get on, there are state pages for every state and for foreign countries. There is, well, not every, like a foreign country page. But you get on there and you join the forum for your state and you introduce yourself. And I guarantee you will find a handful of people that are within close driving distance of you that you can start a conversation with. And that's what this is all about, right?
Gigi also talked to Local Prepper. Him
Yep.
and Jester Doom from the It's Doomsday podcast are putting on, I think it's called Prep Stock. And it's going to be in your neck of the woods. So maybe you should subscribe to Local Prepper.
Yeah. You know,
go check that one out.
And also the other thing, when you get on freesteading.com, there's a calendar. Mm-hmm. And if you are hosting an event, I don't care what it is, if it's homesteading or prepping related, you can post on that calendar and let people know about your event. You can also go there as a member of freesteading.com and see what everybody is offering. So you can find events that are local. All right. It's a fantastic resource for people, you know, and the thing I like about these cards, the thing I liked about Conflicted, you know, one thing that we found out over the years doing Midwest Preparedness Festival is probably the.
He just made another 75 cents.
There it is.
No, Local Prepper is just a good friend of mine, and him and I value him as a person, so I will absolutely promote what he does.
Yeah. You know, but one thing we've learned over the years of being involved with Midwest Preparedness is community is probably the most important thing you can have. And the hardest part about starting a community is that first conversation. These cards are a fantastic way to start that conversation. You know, doing something like this. Potluck, do a potluck, do something like that. You know, and that's what this is all about. It's all about building community and doing the things that we need to do to free ourselves from a system that does not care about us, and finding like-minded people and moving forward in the best way possible. All right. Hey guys, we're gonna sign off. Don't leave or anything, because I want to do some after action stuff. Oh, go ahead, Will.
Just as a quick note to kind of jump off what you said, Grumpy.
Okay.
For like finding communities, like try to think more adjacent, right? Like, yeah, not everywhere in the country and not all the time is there going to be a prepper group getting together or a group of people who are like-minded exactly. Look for something kind of parallel or close, just something in the same range. Like for freesteading is obviously, it's like homesteading, right? It's coming from that community. It's built off of that. Like as I'm sure everyone's already very well noticed, we are some relatively devout Christians in some of these groups. So your church may be a great place to meet some people who are like this. And like, yeah, that first conversation is the roughest part. But if you can start in a community that's kind of a parallel, right? Just somewhat adjacent. It's so much easier because you've already filtered out a lot of individuals who are just not even going to be close.
Right. You know, and guys, stick around. I want to elaborate something on that. If you can't find a community, create your own. Jason from Kentucky Sustainable did not have a community, and Kentucky Sustainable Living now has somewhere around 900 people in their Facebook group in the state of Kentucky. And talking with him at the last festival, they have about 130 members that are active on a regular basis across the state of Kentucky. So if there's nothing there, do it yourself. Modern self-reliance, right, guys?
Yep.
All right. Thanks for stopping by, folks. Loved it. Next
Thanks,
time,
Eagle Lover Texas. Thanks,
we
Jules.
will do what?
I was just saying, thanks, Eagle Lover Texas. Thanks, Jules.
Yeah.
And don't
Next
forget
time-
that JD and Southern Prepper One created this game. Go look at their products. Go look at what is it? Southern Prepper One's on YouTube, but they also have Practical Preparedness online. They have a shop where they sell some items too. Go there.
Yep. All right, guys. Thanks for showing up. And like we always say here at Grumpy Acres, go out tomorrow and live a life done free. Take care.